Hey, welcome. Sometimes the greatest ideas, the biggest breakthroughs, don't come from a perfect plan. Nope. They come from a complete and utter mistake. Today, we're diving into those genius accidents, the everyday things and life-saving tech that only exist because something went wonderfully wrong. So, let's get into it.
All right, let's start with a little pop quiz. What on earth could a bag of potato chips, the microwave sitting in your kitchen, and the antibiotic penicillin possibly have in common? I mean, they seem totally random, right? Well, it turns out they share the exact same, really surprising origin story.
And there it is. Every single one of them was a happy accident. They're all the product of pure serendipity, of someone messing up, seeing a weird result, and being curious enough to stop and ask, wait a second, what just happened here?
So, let's begin our journey somewhere we all know and love, the kitchen. As it turns out, some of our favorite foods and gadgets were never even supposed to be a thing.
Okay, picture this. The year is 1853. A chef named George Crumb is trying to deal with a super annoying customer who keeps sending his French fries back, complaining they're not crispy enough. So Crumb's goal? Petty revenge. The accidental result? Well, it's only the world's most popular snack food.
You can just feel the frustration, right? Crumb is totally fed up. So he decides to get back at this guy by slicing the potatoes paper thin, frying them to a crisp until they're basically rocks, and then burying them in salt. He thought the customer would hate them, but nope, they were an instant hit and the Saratoga chip was born.
All right, let's jump forward in time to 1945. An engineer named Percy Spencer is working on radar equipment for the military. He's standing near an active radar set when he reaches into his pocket and realizes his chocolate bar has turned into a gooey mess.
Now, instead of just being annoyed about his snack, Spencer got curious. He realized the thing he was testing, a magnetron that powered the radar, was emitting these things called microwaves that could heat food, like crazy fast. So he tried it with some popcorn kernels and then an egg, which famously exploded all over the place. And just like that, the modern microwave oven was on its way.
Sometimes these accidents even spark a little teamwork. So at the 1904 World's Fair, an ice cream vendor runs clean out of bowls. Total disaster, right? But his neighbor, a guy named Ernest Hamwi selling waffles, had an idea. He just rolled up one of his hot waffles into a cone shape, let it cool for a second, and voila! The ice cream cone was born, right there, out of pure on-the-spot improvisation.
Okay, so we're leaving the kitchen now and heading into the laboratory. This is where the stakes of these accidents get a lot higher. We're talking about moving from tasty snacks to discoveries that have literally saved millions of lives.
This is one of my favorite details. The discovery of penicillin, one of the most important medical breakthroughs ever, might not have happened if its discoverer, Alexander Fleming, was a neat freak. Seriously, his lab was famously messy, which, it turns out, was the perfect environment for a world-changing accident to happen.
So the story goes, Fleming gets back from vacation and finds that one of his petri dishes of bacteria has been contaminated with mold. But instead of just tossing it in the trash, he noticed something amazing. All around the mold, the bacteria was dead. It was like the mold had a force field. Any other scientist might have just cleaned up the mess, but Fleming's curiosity took over, and that path led directly to penicillin, and eventually a Nobel Prize.
Here's another one, a super simple mistake with just, wow, unbelievable consequences. An engineer named Wilson Greatbatch was trying to build a device to record heartbeats, but he accidentally grabbed the wrong tiny electronic part from his toolbox. When he turned the device on, it didn't record a heartbeat, it pulsed with a perfect rhythm that mimicked one. He knew instantly that he'd stumbled onto something huge.
And the impact was almost immediate. By 1960, the very first implantable pacemaker, based on his accidental design, was successfully put into a human patient. That one little slip-up started a revolution in cardiac care that has saved countless lives.
A very similar thing happened way back in 1895. A physicist named Wilhelm Röntgen was doing experiments with an electron beam when he noticed a screen on the other side of his lab started to glow. So he put his hand in between the beam and the screen, and to his absolute shock, he saw a ghostly image of the bones inside his hand. He had just discovered a new mysterious ray that could pass through skin. He called them X-rays.
And this pattern, you guys, it just repeats over and over again. Superglue, that was a failed attempt to make clear plastic for gun sights. The stuff was just way too sticky. Teflon, that was just the weird slippery gunk left over after a refrigerant experiment went wrong. The list just goes on, from vulcanized rubber to plastic and even some of the first antidepressants.
So after hearing all these stories, from salty snacks to life-saving science, what's the big idea here? What is the actual genius behind all of these incredible mistakes?
Well, it's not just pure luck. There's almost a recipe for it. It all starts with something unexpected, a mistake, a messy lab, a surprise. But that's not enough. You absolutely need a curious observer, someone like Fleming or Spencer who doesn't just see a failure, they see a puzzle. It's all about having the vision to see the incredible potential that's hiding inside the mistake.
And this, I think, really gets to the heart of it all. After John Walker accidentally invented the friction match, he could have patented it and gotten rich, but he didn't. He said he wanted it to be available for everyone, to benefit humanity. It just shows this beautiful spirit of progress that's at the core of so many of these stories.
All of this brings us to one last question. If so many of the world-changing inventions of our past came from the unexpected, what future breakthroughs are just waiting out there? Maybe in a messy lab right now, or in a failed experiment, or just a simple, everyday mistake. What happy accident is waiting just around the corner for all of us?